Ever felt like everything was finally coming together, only for it all to fall apart? That's kind of what happened at the Tower of Babel. People were united. One language, one dream, one mission. But then, out of nowhere, it all unraveled. Why? What went wrong? And what does that ancient collapse say about the way we hustle, build, and chase success today? Let's talk about it. Welcome back to our Old Testament Bible study series. I'm so glad you're here today. Hey friends, welcome again to Daily Bible Devotional, where we dive into the Bible together, one story at a time. This is part of our Old Testament series, and as you know, we drop new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you've been journeying with us, you'll remember last time we explored the long genealogy from Noah's sons, how life started to branch out again after the flood. And today? Today we're hitting a turning point. We're diving into Genesis 11, where humanity comes together to build something big, and God steps in, big time. It's the story of the Tower of Babel. Our goal for this episode is to uncover what this story teaches us, not just about ancient humanity, but about ourselves, our motives, our pride, and our longing to belong and be known. Let's start with a quick summary of the story in Genesis 11. So here's the scene. After the flood, people started spreading across the earth. But at one point, they paused. They settled in a place called Shinar. They had a shared language and one big idea: build a city and a tower that reaches the heavens. Sound bold? It was. They weren't just building architecture, they were building identity. Let's make a name for ourselves, they said. But then God came down, saw what was happening, and decided to disrupt the whole project. He confused their language so they couldn't understand each other. The building stopped, the people scattered, and the place was named Babel, which means confusion. So what's the point of this ancient story? Is it just a tale about some old construction project gone wrong? Or is there more? Let's get into it. Now let's zoom in on the heart of the chapter. The tower wasn't just about bricks, it was about pride. Genesis 11 isn't just telling us about a building, it's holding up a mirror. The people of Babel weren't trying to glorify God, they were trying to glorify themselves. They said, let's make a name for ourselves. That's the heartbeat of pride. And here's the thing, they weren't building a tower to reach heaven just for fun. They were building because they were afraid of being scattered, afraid of being forgotten, afraid of being ordinary. And don't we do that too? We build towers all the time. We hustle for recognition, craft perfect online profiles, chase promotions and praise. Not always because we love what we do, but because deep down, we're scared of being invisible. In a way, the Tower of Babel is humanity's first group selfie. Look at us. Look how high we can go. But God saw that pride leads to ruin, not because he hates achievement, but because when pride leads, love gets left behind. The takeaway? Pride builds towers, but love builds people. But what if the confusion of language wasn't a curse, but a calling back to purpose? Here's a different lens. The people at Babel weren't just building high, they were building away from God. Their language, their unity, their vision, it was all horizontal, never vertical. It was all, let us make a name for ourselves. So when God said, let us confuse their language, it wasn't just disruption, it was divine mercy. Because sometimes clarity in the wrong direction is more dangerous than confusion in the right hands. Think about it like this. If your GPS is sending you down the wrong road, You don't want it to work perfectly. You want it to reroute. That's what God did. He rerouted humanity's ambition away from self-made glory towards scattered places where we'd need him again. In a way, the confusion of Babel became the birthplace of culture, diversity, and ultimately, the stage for redemption. Different languages, different people groups, all setting up the need for one day, one word, that would bring them all back together. And isn't that what Jesus did? At Pentecost, the Holy Spirit reversed the confusion, not by making everyone speak the same again, but by making them understand each other in their own tongue. Acts 2. The gospel undoes Babel, not with one language, but with one spirit. So maybe God wasn't trying to shut down our dreams. He was making space for something better than a tower. He was making room for a kingdom. Here's the takeaway. When we build without God, He rewrites the blueprint. Let's talk about what this story means for our lives today. Okay, let's get real. We live in a Babel world. So much noise, so many voices, so many efforts to climb higher, get louder, and be seen. Social media makes it so easy to confuse connection with recognition. You post something deep and vulnerable, and then refresh your notifications to see if it landed. If it didn't get enough likes, you wonder, was it worth sharing? And work? Same deal. Sometimes we chase careers more for the applause than the purpose. But the message of Babel is this: unity without humility is dangerous. The people were united, yes, but not in the right spirit. They were chasing legacy without listening to the one who gives life meaning. And when God confused their language, He wasn't punishing them out of spite. He was saving them from themselves. Think about that. Sometimes when our plans fall apart, it's not failure, it's rescue. Let's flip that into a question. What tower are you building today? Is it drawing you closer to others? Or is it quietly isolating you while you climb? God's invitation is to stop building towers and start building trust. Start walking with Him, even if the journey feels slower, because in His time, everything connects. And you don't have to fight for a name. He's already written yours in the book of life. There's one more layer here that points to something much deeper in our spiritual awakening. See, when you fast forward to the New Testament, Acts 2 to be exact, something wild happens. The disciples are gathered, the Holy Spirit comes, and suddenly, people from different nations start understanding each other's languages. Did you catch that? It's like a reverse Babel. God scatters at Babel, but gathers in Acts. He confuses speech in Genesis 11, but brings understanding through the Holy Spirit in Acts 2. That's not random, that's redemption. And it shows us this: what pride breaks apart, God's Spirit brings back together. The spiritual growth we long for, it starts when we stop reaching for heaven our way and start receiving heaven His way. That's the difference between religion and relationship, between a tower and a temple. So what's our big takeaway today as we walk into a new week? Here it is. Making a name for yourself might impress people, but surrendering your name to God transforms everything. We don't need to speak the loudest. We need to listen deeper. We don't need to climb higher. We need to bow lower, because God's kingdom isn't built like Babel. It's built like Jesus, humble, upside down, and eternally solid. So the next time you find yourself stressed, striving, or trying to prove your worth, pause. Ask yourself, am I building a tower, or am I walking with the one who already knows my name? And next time, Well, something huge is about to shift, because while the nations are now scattered, the story isn't over. God's about to choose one man from a pagan land, and from him a whole nation will be born, a man named Abram. And trust me, you won't want to miss how it all begins. Be sure to join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for more insights into the Old Testament. And don't forget, our New Testament series airs every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Thanks for hanging out with me today, friends. Until next time, keep seeking, keep growing, and keep walking in the Word.